What's going on, everyone? I'm joined here with Chris Bradley. If you're just joining and you don't know who this man is, you definitely need to know who this man is. He was at Books and Beyond. He was a speaker. I actually was fortunate enough to meet him the first time, year one at Books and Beyond. Didn't know who Chris was. I had actually kind of heard a little bit about Hoku Books before, but I didn't realize that I was connected to you again. I met you for the first time at Books and Beyond in 2024. His story was so kind of crazy, and his business model is kind of so mind blowing to me that I was like, all right, we definitely need to bring him as a speaker in 2025. So he spoke about kind of being a bookseller growing up as a young kid in the textbook family business, which I think is just crazy. I mean, I don't know how many people go back and say like, oh yeah, my parents were flipping textbooks. Like maybe my kids will say that in 15, 20 years, but to me, that's mind blowing that that's even a possibility. So
Right.
just an interesting perspective there. Um, and yeah, just the way that I should say, quote, sells books is way different than most Amazon booksellers. So, because of that, and because of the volume he does, he has a lot of insight into the inner workings of counterfeit textbooks, which is what part of his presentation was on at Books and Beyond. I mean, you only had 25 minutes, Chris, so there's no way you had even 20% of the time you probably need to talk about that. So today, what we're going to do is talk more in depthly on counterfeit books. Chris has his presentation slides from Books and Beyond, and maybe some other ones as well. And I'm just excited to get into it. So, Chris, what's going on, man?
What's going on, brother? Yeah, we got a lot to show you today. We're going to go through kind of the problem, and I'll do a little deep dive, and we'll see some actual images of counterfeits and
Okay, cool.
things that we're looking for, things that everybody out there needs to be kind of looking for, and what they can do to kind of protect their accounts.
And what
So,
I also want to say that behind Chris is not actually a green screen. So tell us a little bit about why there's bedrock, or why is there rock behind you, and why are there a
yeah.
bunch of textbooks behind you?
So we moved. So yeah, step back a little bit. So yeah, I'm second generation in the book biz. My parents were flipping books in 1984. They started,
Crazy.
and so 85 they were running it. 86 I was born. 6 weeks after I was born, we were back out on the roads, and we were traveling. We hit all 48 states, every state, and staying at KOA campgrounds, going to universities, buying books from professors, doing book buys from universities, doing student buys set up for campuses. So we were doing this back in the 80s, before there was
Crazy.
Amazon, before there was even internet. So like, how do you even know how much a book's worth?
Yeah.
So we used to, I didn't even talk about this in Books and Beyond, but we used to have, like, it literally looked like a phone book, just like this. And it would be by author title. And so you would go into wherever you're at doing your book buy, and you'd have like this book, and you'd flip to, like, you'd find it was all alphabetical, and then you'd look it up, and it would show title, edition, and have the ISBN, and show the value that one of the major wholesalers would pay for it.
Yeah.
And so we'd go in and do these buys and ship them off. Yeah. So we were flipping pre-internet.
I think what's cool is you've probably seen the progression and evolution of a lot of editions, right? Like second edition, third edition, because some books are on like the 15th edition, 16th edition. I mean, they've been going on forever.
So. I mean, a lot of this stuff I don't even remember. But like when my mom will come in here, occasionally she'll come in here and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I remember this book, and this is what it used to look like." And because it's a lot of the same authors. They've just they've been doing it for years and years and years. Some of those like McConnell economics titles, they've been around forever.
That's crazy. So talk to us a little bit about why there's literally rock behind you, and then
So we moved the business probably, let's see, it was in August. We moved our business into the Louisville Mega Caverns. So currently we are about 150 feet, I think, underground. And this used to be a limestone rock quarry. So it was a quarry back in the 1920s, I believe they started. And they dug all this out. We're in a 100-acre underground cavern right now. So I can move my camera around a little bit.
Whoa,
there's a limestone pillar there.
That's crazy.
And then we've got 40-foot ceilings. So that's literally a limestone cap that's got 50 foot of limestone above that before it even hits the ground above it. So we're a good ways underground right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I mean, so many, like, you're probably never going to start a YouTube channel, but if you did, so many opportunities, having been literally in this cave,
that's right.
that I can think of. Yeah.
I'm going to be the Batman of books. That's what I'm going to be.
So let us know in the comments section if he ever did make a YouTube channel, which I doubt he would, low chance. But if he did, the fact that he's literally in a limestone cave, what should his name be? What should his YouTube name be? He's so unique. So awesome, man. And then tell us a little bit about the books. What's going on back there?
Oh, so this right here was part of today's receive.
Okay.
So we get so basically what Hoku Book is. So most people aren't going to know what Hoku Book is. So we built a software solution back in 2009. I started the first code in my senior capstone course at college, and built a sourcing solution back then for all of our campus stores. And so eventually, after my parents were doing the book flipping, they settled down and opened up campus stores throughout the country. And so when I was in high school, I came in, it was early Amazon years, and got all of our inventory online and started selling, and kind of took off from there. But anyhow, so we built this solution in 2009, 2010, kind of launched everything out and pushed it out to the entire campus market. So
Awesome.
What a lot of the online arbitrage group does, we've done at a volume scale for the university markets. So where you're looking for a few books, the university's out. I saw a list come through from a campus that's looking for like 7,000 units. So we got one of those today. And so our system will go out and acquire inventory from multiple markets, both online and some of our campus markets as well that don't have online listings. So we're pulling inventory from everywhere. And then we'll get what looks like this. This is some of today's stuff that hadn't been processed that just came in at the end of the day. They come in these things, and as we get into more kind of heavier seasons, we'll have full trucks come into this stuff.
That's
and I can probably show you guys a little bit later. I'll share my screen and kind of show you the process of how it works, but you'll see this in a minute. So there's little codes on every single package that comes in that goes into our receiving system. Right. So we know exactly what's in every single package before it's opened. We label everything with a unique identifier, which is huge in dealing with this counterfeit crisis.
Exactly. That's the whole reason why we're here. I mean, so if you're kind of somebody who's just, again, meeting Chris for the first time, he's a serious dude, doing crazy revenue. Again, just mind-blowing this kind of scale and level that you're at compared to us. But at the same time, doing what I'm doing is also very profitable. It's providing a good life. So it's not a knock on what we're doing. It's just that, wow, it's crazy that at the scale you're doing, it's really impressive. So I do want to get into the counterfeit crisis because it is something that I would say the majority of booksellers are very afraid of, right? They're afraid of Amazon shutting down their account. They're afraid of getting an IP complaint, a counterfeit claim. They're afraid of getting sued potentially. And so it's a good idea to at least make ourselves as aware as possible how to deal with counterfeit books, how to identify them, the process of letting, the direct sort of way that you will let the publishers know if you do find a counterfeit book and so on. So Chris does have a PowerPoint slide presentation for us, and I'm really excited, man. So I'm going to let you kind of run it, and I'm gonna ask questions from the chat. Also ask questions when I can. But dude, let's
jump into it. Yeah. So I'll kind of go into. Let's start with the problem. So very first time I heard about counterfeit books was 2012, and I had no idea. I mean, I was like, people counterfeiting books? Like, why would you counterfeit a book? But anything that's got significant value, you're talking about. A $10 billion a year industry, there's money to be made. There's going to be bad actors that come into any industry. So I guess it was 2012. I heard the first kind of rumblings of counterfeits. There was a company that I knew that actually got sued. It was a $30 million suit, and there was a bankruptcy that occurred. So in fact, every single one of these book carts you see back there, all those are called V carts. I went in, and they at the time, those retailed for like $250, $300. And I went and bought every single one of them from this company that went bankrupt for like $5 a piece.
That's crazy.
So that was the first time I'd heard about it. And then, we started scaling and growing bigger. I mean, when we first started, we were in a little tiny office, and it just kind of blew up. Well, we were in my house.
Right.
And it got bigger and bigger, bigger to the point where, people would come over and they're like, Chris, are you moving? I'm like, no, those are books. But, so anyhow, 2014, there was a lot of pressure that started coming on the kind of like the high end of the food chain. Think
Okay.
Barnes and Noble college division. So Barnes and
Okay.
Noble's got a college division that operates a lot of campus stores, and then
Okay.
Follett Higher Education, which is the largest operator of campus stores. So there was a lot of pressure applied to them. And then from there, they started applying pressure down to their sources, those
Okay.
companies. And we were a large provider of books to some of those companies.
Okay.
So in 2015 is really when this thing kind of hit the fan. And we'll just talk about, so firstly, what the problem is counterfeit, like copyright issues are strict liability. So copyright infringement, as you can see here, it's a strict liability offense. So it means that you don't have to have knowledge or intent to actually be held liable. So you should, what basically the legal jargon is, you should have known, or you knew that you did it. And the big piece of it is you should have known.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us aren't going to know that we're doing this, but we should have known, which is why these attorneys can come after you. But the biggie is that each work that is infringed, they can come after you for $750 to $30,000 per book that's infringed upon. And so what ends up happening is somebody's got a lot of IP, or there's a lot of counterfeit copyright complaints that are happening, and they'll come after you and say, okay, we found that you've distributed this X number of books. They'll do test buys from you, and then they'll show you this large number, and then they'll try and force you to settle. But if they find that there's willful intent, which has been found out there's been bad actors. They've found some shady overseas sellers that are selling into the markets, whether it's Amazon, eBay, whatnot. They can actually go after you for 5x that amount. So up to $150,000 per work, plus actual damages, which are the lost sales to the publishing company, along with any profits that you gained. So it's a lot of money at stake here, and so it's, not just your Amazon account, which is, your livelihood, but also they can come after you for monetary damages as well. So it's a big issue.
Yeah, I'm sure it's actually pretty easy to, I would assume that kind of clarifying willful intent is probably pretty easy, right? Just evidence-based, like you've got hundreds of this one copy of book. It's clearly that, you clearly know what you're doing versus.
Well, so what they do is they'll, when they go after somebody that's distributed a book, they try and find who that person got it from, and they keep going down the chain until ultimately what happened was they were ending up in places like India and China, where there was this ring of, sophisticated printing, printers that would actually print this stuff. And so they would go in and take down these. They were, obviously working in some other countries too, to try and take down some of these counterfeit rings. And then they were shutting accounts down throughout Amazon and these other markets,
One of the things that maybe we can talk about later as well is there definitely are international editions of books as well, right? And so I'd like you later on to speak about the international editions, how they sort of vary from the U.S. editions, because I think they're just technically the same material, right? But just printed overseas. But we can get into that a little later.
Right. Yeah. Well, so international editions, there was actually a lawsuit. I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but you can Google it pretty easily. And so the publishing companies in the beginning said it was illegal to distribute an international edition within the States. But then there was a lawsuit. I think it eventually made it all the way up through the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court actually verified, and they said that no, you can distribute international edition books within the States. So it is legal to distribute and sell an international edition book. There's nothing wrong ethically or legally with that. So
and there are Amazon listings too that will say international edition. And the way, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but the way that I tell people is like, if the image of the book title clearly shows international edition, the title says international edition, there's no, you just don't want to sell like an international edition on a U.S. edition or vice versa kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. That can get you in some trouble. As long as you're selling an international edition on an international edition listing, that's totally fine. What we do get some of it through, obviously, you know, students that probably don't even realize what they're doing, because a lot of times what companies will do is you'll see like electrical tape across the top. It's
so
just black
much
electrical tape, and basically it's just covering that international edition, and you'll see a lot of tape across the back where it's basically saying not authorized to distribute within the states, blah blah blah. But they've got a different ISBN number, so we have to reject those, obviously, because what it is at the higher ed level, they don't want international editions for the most part. There's some instances where they'll take them.
What would you say, if you know kind of roughly, what is like your rejection rate on books that come in that you've purchased that you're like, oh no, we have to send this back for that reason, or just overall, I guess?
Well, so on a high level note, we're looking at upwards of 7%, but that's not just rejections. That's items that go missing. They don't arrive, or you know, they're not shipped, whatnot. But we have automated reordering tools that go out and it monitors these things. So the rate's actually lower than that. On an actual rejection rate, we're looking probably somewhere less than 2% that actually get rejected. Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Sorry for the tangent, but
no, it's fine. It's fine. So anyway,
we got a lot of time. So this is what we didn't have at Books and Beyond. So keep it rolling, man.
So okay, so we got this problem. We've got, you know, copyright infringement. They can come after you for a lot of money, and you can lose your Amazon account. So so we're talking, you know, this was 2015, and then so basically what happened is the major educational publishers, the ones you see here, Cengage, Elsevier, McGraw-Hill, and Pearson Education, which are the largest in the world. Pearson's the #1 educational provider in the world. And then McGraw-Hill, Cengage are very close behind. Elsevier does a lot of sciences. Macmillan joined the forces a little bit later, but these 5 together formed a group called EPEG. So EPEG, you guys are probably a little familiar with. I've seen this come across in some forums. So EPEG is just stands for Educational Publisher Enforcement Group. So that's what it means. So they banded together to attack this problem of counterfeits. And then what they did is they hired out Oppenheim and Zebrak. So I'm sure that a lot of listeners will have heard of O&Z Law. So
unfortunately, yes.
That's where O&Z Law comes in.
Yep.
So these guys are heavy hitters. You've got, you know, I'm sure this probably will be picked up by them. So I'm sure they'll be watching, but you've got some heavy hitters on their team. That one of the partners, I believe it was Matt Oppenheim. I think I'm getting their name right. He was with the firm and that helped take down Napster, for those of you that are old enough to remember what Napster is.
Crazy.
So, which is a peer-to-peer file sharing network. It was pre, you know, iPod and Apple Music era, when there was this file sharing going on. There was LimeWire, there was Kazaa.
I remember LimeWire.
He helped take down those major, you know, peer-to-peer file sharing companies.
Wow.
So that's what their company is solely in, like copyright material. That's what they're really engaged in. And so these publishing companies saw that. They brought them on, I think it was around 2014, independently of one another, and then they formed this group. So right off the gate, there was a stated commitment, and I put it right here. This is directly, you know, from EPEG through Oppenheim and Zebrak, that what they're trying to do is to pursue the legal rights, pursue their legal rights, meaning their EPEG, those publishing companies, against anyone who is involved or distributes any kind of counterfeit textbooks. Okay. And then they also go after digital piracy as well. So that's a big thing. You know, there's these forums, there's these kind of underground places that students were getting like PDF copies of entire textbooks. And so they go after those rings as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at. So you've got this law firm that comes on board.
Okay.
Right. So a couple years go by, they're kind of going after the high level, the bigger groups. And then January 2017 hits, and EPEG subpoenaed Amazon to disclose about 100 unnamed Amazon marketplace sellers that were accused of distributing counterfeit textbooks.
Right.
And within days, Amazon shut down all 100 accounts.
Wow.
So these are large. I'm sure. I don't know. I don't know who they were specifically, but they were larger distributors of books, you know,
Okay.
and so probably a lot within those particular publishing companies.
Right.
And so then August 2017 comes just before back to school season, and then EPEG actually sent infringement notices to Amazon, eBay, A-Books, and others. So the largest online marketplaces for books.
Right.
And reported over 300 counterfeit sellers. And then boom, back to that. It was coincided with that. They had brought five lawsuits in federal court against 40 anonymous sellers and 2 named sellers. And then dozens of cease and desist letters started going out. And so from there, it's continued forward, and we see hot zones around back to school season. So think January, August, back when semesters are starting.
Right.
And so that's when you'll see, and I'm sure they're doing it probably year round now. You'll see test buys that could potentially occur, going off to some of these law firms. So it's not just.
Do you sorry, interject. Do you know what any of these sort of conclusions to these like 5 lawsuits, like these are the first lawsuits, right? Any conclusions to kind of those that you can remember off the top of your head?
Oh yeah. So you can go, I'll just bring it up now. You can put this in the comments if you want. Anybody that's interested can go to Stop Counterfeit Textbooks. No, Stop Counterfeit Books.
Counterfeitbooks.com, right?
Yep. StopCounterfeitBooks.com, and you can see these particular lawsuits. So I mean, they're shutting companies down, is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's they took some major companies down. So, a lot of them would come out and end up settling, and are now what they call EPEG certified resellers.
Right.
And you can see some of the certified EPEG resellers out there on their website.
Right.
And so a lot of what I'm about to go into is a deeper dive of what you'll see on this website. So they kind of discuss the problem, show a few examples, and kind of tell you the process of what I'm going to show you. So there is a method to the madness. We can actually work directly with EPEG. And it's how we actually work with other non-EPEG publishers as well. So the $1 million question is how do we navigate this issue and protect our seller accounts? That's what we all want to know, right?
Yep.
So number one, we have to learn the common warning signs of a counterfeit. And that's going to be the second half of what I jump into. I'll show you at the end some actual examples, what you need to be looking for.
Cool.
Number two is we need to proactively work with publishers to confirm the authenticity of potential counterfeits. So if you get something that is flagged, it has one of these warning signs that I talked about, then you need to reach out to the publishing company and work with them to verify that it is an authentic book.
Right.
And then lastly, you need to maintain a list of known counterfeits. These are kind of we maintain a list of known counterfeits. It's harder for maybe an OA seller that's just have a bunch of one-offs. So you guys do have a tool that you use through BooksRun. It's a counterfeit book checker. I'm not against it at all. Basically what they're doing, BooksRun, is maintaining a list of potential counterfeits that they've found in the industry. They're a big reseller. So don't take it for gospel, but it is a great tool. If they say that it's likely counterfeit, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy it. It means that it needs an extra set of eyes looking at that particular item, because there are verified counterfeits in the market. Okay.
The interesting thing as well is that when you do look on the StopCounterfeitTextbooks.com website, you can see a current list of all of the resellers that are EPEG approved, and actually BooksRun is not one of them. But again, it's kind of like the best that we got, though.
Right. And nothing against BooksRun. Like, they operate in a market Some similar to us. So books run, I'm sure they are, because based off of everything I'm seeing on their website, they are more than likely doing this exact same process that we're doing.
Right.
They're working with you can work with EPEG, and that's what we're going to tell you. We're going to show you how to work with EPEG. You don't, smaller sellers don't necessarily have to become EPEG certified, but you can follow the
Right.
EPEG procedures, the
Right.
best practices to do what these EPEG certified companies are doing.
And by the way, that could be even if you're somebody out there thrifting, going to
Yeah,
library sales, like no matter how small you are, right? Because you're gonna get into it. But the idea is just like if you see something that's counterfeit, like you're just essentially reporting where you got it from, right? And following those
right.
procedures. So
Yep,
okay.
absolutely.
Cool.
All right, so let's jump in here. So I'll get into later how you identify counterfeits. We're just going to say right now you've identified a counterfeit. So
Okay.
what do we do from here? You've got a potential counterfeit item. We're not going to say
Right.
it is a potential counterfeit item that's come through. It's got one of these warning signs. I've got a few things here that you should and that you shouldn't do. So,
Okay.
and the things that you shouldn't do are just as important as the things that you should do. So,
Okay.
number one, never claim that an item is counterfeit without publisher confirmation. And the reason I say this is you don't want to make a claim, especially I'm going to kind of preface this in the terms of like an OA world where somebody's doing online arbitrage. You don't want to claim that an item is counterfeit against another seller with maybe just a warning sign. Maybe it's got one of the signs of potential counterfeit,
Right.
and then you're potentially causing an issue for a seller that is a bogus claim.
Right.
You wouldn't want somebody doing that against your account and them not having any idea what they're talking about. But Amazon takes it very seriously. So they see the term counterfeit, boom, you're going to have an IP claim. You're going to have a complaint against you. So never do it unless you actually have proof, verification from the publisher that it is a counterfeit.
Right.
Secondly, never initiate a return to the marketplace of an item that you suspect is counterfeit. So this is actually coming directly from EPEG. And one of the reasons why they say this is because if it is a counterfeit, you don't want to basically push that item back out into the market to be spread out again. We're trying to pull these from the marketplace. So, and don't worry, there is a route, another method to get a refund on that particular item without actually returning the item. So I know that's probably a big question that somebody said, well, I need to return it so I can get my money back. Well, you can get your money back once you verify that it is counterfeit. You can reach out through the marketplace, show them this verification, and you'll get a refund on that.
And that includes Amazon, eBay, ABooks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I remember maybe about a year ago, I did buy a book on eBay that when I got it, I thought it was counterfeit. And one of the biggest things was like the paper looked like printer paper, right? There's no coloration in the pictures. And the most important thing is that the ISBN on the barcode was different. And so was the ISBN inside the book. So I was like, all right, chances of this being counterfeit very likely. So I just basically reached out to the seller to return the book. And again, this was a while ago when I wasn't even really aware of this stuff. And ended up, I just sent the book back to them. I got a refund, but that's not the right way to do it. Essentially,
yeah, this is what you should do, and because we've sent off hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books, with the vast majority being returned back to us as being verified authentic. I mean, and the way this works is there's multiple printings of a particular book, and sometimes they'll do one-off print runs through another company if they're at capacity at their publishing facility. And so it might be a lower quality print that is actually a valid item that's coming across. So that's why we say this. So, and then number 3 on this list is to quarantine any suspected inventory that you have that's counterfeit, that's potentially counterfeit, and keep it in a separate area away from all your other inventory. So this is for people who are prepping to send their stuff in. You want to basically quarantine and have a section separate so it doesn't get commingled with your other inventory.
Okay. Someone in the comments, Aaron asked, what about the shipping costs to get this book? Like, if you're sending it to the publisher, right? What's up with the shipping costs to and back?
Sure. And I've actually got a slide specifically on this. I'll touch on it. I'll answer that question now, but we'll get into it a little bit later.
Okay.
So with the EPEG process, you're responsible for shipping the item to them.
Okay.
So you're talking, a single book, and you need to strip it in a trackable method. So even if you go ground advantage at the lower cost or UPS, I mean, you're talking typically
$5-6.
$5 to $6
Yeah.
to ship that item and verify that it's a quality title. So you need to do this, and then basically what happens is they'll go through the procedure to verify if it is a legitimate book. They'll ship it back to you on their dime. So
Right.
you're responsible
Okay, cool.
for shipping it to them. They'll ship it back to you. Okay.
And again, you can get a refund if it is counterfeit, right, by going back to marketplace. And then if the book is legitimate, then you would just sell the book.
Yep.
Okay.
They'll send it back to you, and then you can take it from there. And that way, down the line, if somebody says, somebody picks up on the same warning sign, they're like, oh, this thing's counterfeit, and you get a ping against your account.
Right.
Okay. You can say, no, I've got the verification from the actual authority on this, and here it is.
Right.
And it's protecting your account. So this is what we do. This is how we protect our accounts.
Huge question for you. There's tons of obviously books. There's a decent number of books that we can sell that are not restricted according to Books Run Counterfeit Calculator Checker that are highly likely or likely to be counterfeited. And so just to be as conservative as possible, to not lead people down a wrong path, we just say, just avoid them. Don't even think about selling them. You yourself said that you do not necessarily not sell it. It's just an extra pair of eyes on the book. So let's say you did buy 10 copies of this book on Amazon, a book that's suspected to be highly likely to be counterfeited. You go through, let's say you just get all 10 and literally just ship them all to EPEG, and you get them all 10 back. Then you would essentially have a letter like confirmation that this book is fine, right? You could go sell it.
Yep. And I'll show you what that looks like. You're going to see examples of this. Okay. You'll see examples of all this stuff. So, keep the questions coming. I'll keep going forward. You stop me if there's anything that comes through. Okay. So one of the biggies in this whole process is you have to keep really good records. Okay. So Joji, your example, you've got 10 books coming in from Amazon. Okay.
Right.
You have to, and I'm about to pop into this next slide, but I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but you have to be able to have an identifier, boom, on the back of your books.
Gotcha.
That, this right here, and you'll see an actual slide of it here in a second, is a unique identifier for every single book, and it ties it back to the origin. So you need to know that not necessarily just this biology book came from these 10 different sellers. You need to know that this particular biology book came from this particular seller.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So good records is key. So if you end up coming across a potential counterfeit, what we do is we actually take photos. We have a photo library that we keep. So we'll take photos of the book, all the areas that we look at as a potential sign. So we can look back on it later as well. And so we do that. And then we obviously will keep any kind of correspondence that we're having with the seller, any kind of emails that are going back and forth. It's usually not a whole lot, but we do post that, as well. If it comes back as counterfeit, and any kind of communication we have with that seller or that marketplace, that is kept in a file. So if it's requested from a law firm, it's there. Okay. Which all that good thing is all seller communications are stored in your Amazon account. So it's not like you're going to have to download this and keep it somewhere. Everything's out there.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay. So this is what I was talking about. Proper inventory management is key. So you have to have a system that tracks the source of every book purchased, sold, or held in your inventory. Okay. So I started thinking about this. We've got a kind of a sophisticated model of how we do it. Right. Okay. But I'm trying to think of, if I were doing this myself and I had, Keepa, BookMine, some of these other tools out here, and I'm buying, right?
Yeah.
What would I do to track this? And the simplest thing I thought of is basically you can increment a number for each new book that comes in. So as long as you have a unique identifier on the book, so you could start with 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you could go alphanumeric. A1, A2, A3, and then so you have, but basically track that back to the origin Amazon order number if you're doing A to A, right?
Okay, gotcha.
So as long as you know that, book number 1 is tied to, Amazon order number XXX 1, 2, 3,
Right.
4, 5, 6. Okay. So as long as you know that, that's what you, I mean, that's the main piece of it there. So if
So my
and
question is, so like you receive the like you actually have packages next to it. You receive the package, and so your system is that um, there's already an identifier on the shipping label. Is that correct for you?
Mhm.
And so that already identifies just
when,
the contents of what's in there, or the specific books as well.
yes, we know. So we've built an end-to-end solution. So when a purchase, this actually the chain of inventory, like that proper chain, is held from the actual purchase point. I guess the way I should say it is like the the integrity of the chain of custody is
Okay.
there, because from the time we make the purchase all the way through the receive, all the way up to, we'll end up on the shelf, to if somebody reaches out to us 6-7 years from now,
Okay.
um, we know specifically where this particular book originated from,
Right.
where it was sold to. So we can have all that information. So if what's great is if you're doing maybe you're using GoToLister,
Yeah.
and you've got you're sending off a shipment. Every single item, you're actually putting a unique identifier on there, and you
Yeah.
got an FNSKU, right?
Yep.
So if you can tie that FNSKU back to the origin order number, you're golden, right?
Right.
So in its simplest form, you could keep a spreadsheet running of, here's your FNSKU and here's the Amazon order number. Boom, boom,
Okay.
tied together. And that's what you need. That's very important, so you can identify down the road, this book came from here. Okay.
The only thing that I think could run into issues there is like if you have multiple copies of a single book in the same condition, Amazon wants you to use the same FNSKU. So, for example, if I have 5 copies of Campbell Biology, they all get to have the same FNSKU. So, in that case, I would need another identifier.
You would need a unique identifier for it in some way. So we are merchant fulfilled here.
Okay.
But even if
Gotcha.
we even if we go the FBA route, we're still going to have this unique identifier on every book along with
Okay.
an FNSKU.
So, let's say we buy a book A to A, right? And we're doing our own prep, which is, again, kind of difficult because most people have a prep center. But let's just say we were doing our own prep. Okay, we at the very least could say, here's the Amazon order ID. Like, this is our customer account. This is the order ID for this book. This is the name of the person. This is the date, right? And then we're gonna assign a unique identifier, unique identifier A1, and then you'd recommend like actually having a label that we print out and put on the back of that book. That's
Yeah,
like,
it needs it. So EPEG to be certified, that's what you have to do.
okay,
You have to have a unique identifier on that book, a physical unique identifier, which is a
gotcha.
label that we put on there.
Okay, sounds
So
good.
that is something that you have to do to
Okay.
be an EPEG certified reseller.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's part of the process.
And then maintain the record for 5 years from the date of purchase.
That's we have years and years and years of it, but at a minimum, this is actually coming from EPEG. You need to maintain those records for 5 years.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
All right, this is what it looks like for us. This is our receiving. So this is one of these that came in. Here's what the label looks like. There's a close-up actually of it right here on the screen.
Right. It looks great.
When we actually place an order, boom, there's an automatic, it assigns a unique code to every single order that goes through our system. So when we're receiving, we can throw in a 6-digit number into our receiving system.
Okay.
It pulls up on our screen, shows us exactly what that order is. Before we even tear it open, we tear open the package, we quality check it, look for any potential signs. We're not just looking for counterfeit issues. We're looking for if the item's got water damage,
Right.
anything like that. Missing pages. And then so once we do that, boom, we receive the book in, and our system will generate a label like you see here on the left side.
Right.
So what you're seeing on the left-hand side of that label, that 21271,
yeah.
that unique code can be input into our purchase history within our system. And so, like I said, it's a little more sophisticated than just a spreadsheet. You can do this at a spreadsheet level, though.
Right. Okay.
It totally can be done.
Okay.
Especially, I know a lot of people are using those Rolo printers.
Yeah, Rolo label printers. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a method. I'm sure Rolo's got probably an out of the box piece of software that lets you print a label that
Mhm.
you could assign a unique identifier for each one of your books, right? That you
What
could throw on there with FNSKU.
what printer do you guys use, or what do you? I'm just curious.
ZT410s. So
Wow.
these things are pretty cool. So what
Very
we do,
expensive one.
let me just, well, I don't know if I can do this. I can show you real quick.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Are you seeing? Okay, you're not seeing that. Let me show you. I'll show you this process if I can figure it out. How do
Okay.
you represent here?
That'd be awesome, dude.
All right, stop this screen.
Yep.
Let us move this one over. I'll actually show you our system.
Okay, cool. I mean, anything you're willing to share is awesome, man. It's mind blowing to me, right? Because I mean, really, what we do, at least what we teach, is very simplistic, right? There's not. I mean, the idea is it's for the everyday mom or dad that's just kind of wanting a little side hustle. It's not necessarily like a full blown professional operation like this. You know what I mean?
Right. How well can you see that screen?
I can. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So book ID, you're seeing you're received by a book ID here. This is the same 6-digit number you're seeing over here is a book ID, what we call internally.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw in the book ID from this package right here.
Okay.
Let's see here. Let's throw this in over here. All right. So technically, what should be inside of this is this Muhammad Prophet and Statesman book. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
I don't have
So
any.
it gives you the order date. It gives
We're
you.
just going to tear into this because I don't have my stuff over here. Yep. So that's what we got here.
That's awesome.
Right.
So cool.
I'm going to check through this. This is a good little Oxford University Press book. There's no kind of counterfeit issues obviously going on here. This is a kind of a trade title. So,
Okay.
awesome. I mean, this book was printed back in, the original this was a reprint in 1980. So
wow.
This book's been around for a long time. And this is going to some university somewhere.
Okay.
So some of what you're seeing here in our system, there's the original order number.
Gotcha.
There's the order date. It actually shows the market that's coming through, the seller. So all this stuff is actually saved in the back end on our database. So when we go in to receive, whether we've got, sometimes we're getting multiple copies from a seller, sometimes it's a single. So we can actually track, I went ahead and printed, we can actually track down to the actual print run of a book and assign the print run that we're receiving within there as well. So we have all that data. So what just happened, I received, and then we had a label that just spit out over here, right? Okay. So these ZT410s are pretty cool. There's newer models. I think it's like a 415 or 420 now, but it actually sucks all the trash back in. So we're not having like long,
that's awesome.
So it pulls all that back in, right? We've got this label that now has a unique identifier and also has a little barcode on there that works with that, whatever store this is going to, it works with their particular POS system.
That's awesome.
So
that must have been hard to code as well, right? Because you probably have tons of universities you work with and they all have their own unique, right, POS system. So.
Yep. So we work with all those POS systems that are out there. So we take this, we throw this label on there, boom, it's done. And then it actually has, for our student workers that are out here, it's got a location code on there. So that'll end up going on one of these carts back here, and then they get stowed away on the shelves in that particular location.
That's awesome, dude. Thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah. So that's
how often, just out of curiosity, how often are you actually opening packages and touching books? Probably not very often.
How often am I? That's the first time in a while.
Yeah. That's been the first time since 1999. But yeah, it's been a while.
This is the first time in a while. Now I'll oversee everything. So
yeah.
Let's see here. Let me see if I can just.
Yeah, and if there's anything else you have to do to reconcile that to make sure that it's not. I mean, it looks like that you received it, and you got.
No, that's it. And so basically, what happens? It's okay. Let's say years down maybe it's 3 months from now. There's a ping alert. Let's just say that there's an IP issue.
Okay.
So I can take this book. Right now, we're in our purchase history system. I can come out and say, let's look something up by a book ID. I don't have my scanners over here, but I'll just manually type it in. So we can go out and look up by the book ID. Boom, it's going to pop up and show me where this book came from, when it arrived, or we'll see the order date. I can dig down and see all kinds of information from how much it costs to, where it originated from, the received condition of it, the date it was received. All that information is held within our database.
Crazy. That's
So,
awesome, dude.
yeah. So that's,
Levels. Yeah.
I'm going off on a tangent here. We can
I
get
know,
back.
but again, everything you do kind of mind blows me. So any tangent is a good tangent.
All right, let me jump out of you.
All right.
Guys have any questions about this system? I can tell you more about it, but we can jump back into the.
Yeah, let's jump in. If there are any more questions, I'll definitely ask you about that. But let's jump into the counterfeit stuff again.
All right, so back to this, right? So basically, our standard is just to protect that integrity with the proper chain of custody from the point of purchase all the way through the receive to down the road whenever we need that information, right?
Right.
So I know this sounds like a lot. How in the world am I going to do this? But there is a way that you could do it, like even with a simple Rollo printer using their Rollo software just to assign a unique number, boom, onto the back of the book,
right,
and then keep a spreadsheet running of this A1 originated this order number. You can download. You don't have to like even type in all those order numbers. You can go out and download your Amazon order history and have it, daily popping into this, just load it into your spreadsheet. And as something receives in, just throw that unique identifier on there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's one way you can do it. All right. So this comes from the question earlier on this, like who's responsible for shipping and all that. So here's what happens. Okay. We've got a book that's potentially counterfeit. We've identified, right? So EPEG says that we need to fill out a surrender form.
Okay.
And then email it to them, to the appropriate publisher contacts, right? I'll show you what that form looks like. I'll even give you a link to download that.
Okay, cool.
From there, you fill out the form and then you package the item or items that you have that are, potentially counterfeit or you want to get verified. You package it with this form, send it off to them. So they've got the email. And then after they've got the email, package it, put that same form inside and ship it off.
Okay.
From there, once they receive it, it typically takes about a couple of weeks and sometimes faster, depending on what kind of backlog they've got. But they will send you a response. Okay. And they'll tell you if the item is authentic or they'll tell you if the item is counterfeit.
Okay.
So that's the main process. After they've done that, if the items are authentic, they ship them back to you. So you pay for it there, they pay for it to come back, right? And then anything that they've identified as a counterfeit, you need to provide, they'll ask you to provide the source information on that particular item. So that's where it comes. It's very important that, if you've got 10 copies of this book,
right,
that you need to know specifically where this book came from.
Yeah.
Not that you ordered it from 10 different people.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So
okay, because they're going to say is this book here, which has the tag A3 on it, is the one that's counterfeit, and then you're like, all right, well, A3 came from Hoku Books. I'm just joking, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And then you actually have to put that unique identifier in the form that you're filling out. So I mean, you put that in there. That way, it's clear records of everything. So if they reach back out, then and you'll see what it looks like here in just a second. But once you provide that source information back to them, then what you can do is you can take that record that EPEG is sent and then reach out to the marketplace specifically. So you can go to like the contact us, like help section of Amazon, go to that order number and chat with, somebody at Amazon, let them know the issue that's going on. They'll typically escalate it. You can provide that document to them. It's got an EPEG identifier inside of it that says this is a verified counterfeit item. Boom, you'll get a refund back to your account.
Right.
And then you followed the EPEG procedures of not returning that potentially counterfeit book that ended up being a counterfeit book.
Right.
And then the ones that came back as authentic, you're not pinging somebody's account saying this is a counterfeit book. So you're actually that's the actual process that you need to do.
So I'm thinking, again, for those books that we can sell, that Books Run deems counterfeit likely, even though, again, that doesn't mean that they are, just means that there's probably a greater chance. You could, again, if you were buying 10 copies of one of these books and you bought them right on Amazon, or even in this case, it doesn't even matter where you bought it. If you bought it on Amazon or eBay or 8books, as long as you have the source information, who the seller was when you bought it, right? and you have a unique identifier for each particular book, you could literally just pay the shipping costs, ship all those books off of them, literally have them check for authenticity, get all 10 back, and it's like A1, A2, A3, all of them except for A7
Yep.
was good. Okay, A7, I bought on eBay. This seller, here's the name.
Get your
Boom.
money back on that, have the
Back.
other copies, and you are a verified seller of those particular items. Okay.
That's crazy.
So that's the process. So now I've seen some bad information that I'd like to address out there floating around in some forums, and it's, oh, this is a potentially counterfeit item. I don't want to send it out to my, I don't want to send it off FBA and potentially have a ping against my account. So I'm going to just sell it to a buyback company.
Yep.
Okay. Buyback companies are doing this when they send this off, and that company says, oh, that EPEG or whatever other publisher, because we work with non-EPEG publishers too. If they say, oh, this item is counterfeit, where did it come from? And they say Joji, then you've got a problem too. So you don't need to just send it off to a buyback company because it's a likely counterfeit on BooksRun. You need to identify if it's actually a counterfeit book or not. So if you choose to send it to a buyback company, that's fine, but it needs to be verified authentic. You need to make sure that isn't an authentic book before sending it off to them too.
But in this case, I mean, it seems like the process of shipping it, I mean, you just pay for the shipping to EPEG. It's just gonna take them a couple of weeks to identify if it is or isn't. At the end of the day, you get your refund if it is counterfeit, and if it's not counterfeit, then you just have approval to sell the book on Amazon. If they do test buy it, well, look, there's this chain of like evidence that you already said this wasn't counterfeit.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these are going to be higher dollar books. Not that lower dollar books are not counterfeited too; they are. But a lot of what you're looking for to flip to make good margin on is going to be a higher dollar book. So if you take a $4.50 to $5 hit on sending off a single book just to be sure that it is authentic, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, totally worth it.
Yeah.
And totally again, if you kind of are, I wouldn't even say exploiting it, but if you're not exploiting it, you're following the process. But like if you are following the process correctly, you could totally just be buying all these quote highly likely to be counterfeited textbooks. And again, with 100% accuracy, you could literally just ship every single one of them off to the publisher. Again, if you have the unique identifier, and then you're good. That's awesome.
And I mean, and so what happens is when you start working with EPEG, right? This is my professional, my personal opinion is when you're working with them, let's say that, you've sent off several copies over the course of a year to them. And then let's say next year you have one issue that comes across. Well, they've already got Joji's name in the system. They've already got your contact information. And they know that you're working with them, so I don't believe it would be as big of a problem as if you're just a totally anonymous unknown seller, because what they're trying to do is to determine if you are a big pusher of counterfeit imagery. They don't know who you are. You could be in this ring that's tied to some company in India and they're funneling books through you. Or you could just be selling a single book through your account. So they don't know who you are. So they have to figure out who you are and what you're doing, what kind of scale you're doing. So if you're working with them, it's going to be a much easier process than if you weren't working with them in the past,
Absolutely.
So, all right. So this seems like a whole lot, but there is a process to this. There's an actual form you can use. Here's a QR code.
I'm going to scan it myself here. I'm going to scan it. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Scanning myself.
So what this is an actual surrender submission form, right?
Okay.
And so I'll leave this up. I've got, and I'll show you at the end. This is going to be up on my website too, so you can go out and get it. The last I looked on stopcounterfeitbooks.com, they're supposed to have a download link for this, and it's not working.
Oh, interesting.
So you can get it through us. So this has got, this is what the form looks like. There's a lot to it, so it looks small on the screen. So I try to do a little expansion of each section. So the first section you're looking at here, this surrender submission step 1 section is what you would fill out when you have a potential counterfeit.
Okay.
Okay. And so the important piece is you have to, you need to provide the ISBN of the title. So that's the first column. What the title is, this author information, if all you do is provide the ISBN and title, that's fine.
Okay.
If you don't have that author, fill it out as complete as you can. But
Right.
then the important part is you'll see the SKU item ID section, which is right after the author there. That's where you input your unique identifier for that book.
Right.
Because they're going to come back and they're not going to say, where did line 1 come from? They're going to say, they're going to come back and say this particular item, where did it come from? So this is where you have to know where it originated from, right? You put in the date that you received it, and then you fill out, once you have your shipment, you actually put in the tracking number for that item that you're shipping off to them. So this is the tracking information that you're putting in. And then at the top is your information here. So they know where to return this item to. And basically what we do is we create a unique descriptor for every single submission that we do. And they actually request this, and they have a procedure on how to name your email. Basically it's month, day, year, and then the publishing company and the underscore, and then your company name or your name.
Okay.
So you send it off like that. So you fill out this form, you email it off to the correct EPEG contact. And then from there, you wait. So this is an actual surrender email that we use. It's very simple. We don't go into detail on, we think it's potentially counterfeit because of this reason. We're just like, here's the surrender document for review. Boom. You just do it like that. Keep it short. So this is an actual publisher response. This is what they look like. They're canned responses that come across. And they'll say basically everything that shows marked as release within your surrender form is an authentic item. Everything that's marked as CF, which counterfeit is what it means, has been determined to be a counterfeit and won't be returned to you. And then it says, we kindly request the supplier information for the units identified as counterfeit. So that's what this looks like right here. This is how it's returned to you. So step 2 is actually completed by EPEG. So they'll complete this. They'll have, basically you'll see there, it might not be very big on the screen, but they'll say release in that EPEG designation, that second column. It'll say release or CF. So I've kind of marked that one. This was an actual something that we had sent off, and they said this particular item is deemed counterfeit. They'll provide an identifier on their side. So I'm sure they have unique identifiers just like we do that marks this stuff. And then they say, where did this thing come from? Right. So what you do is you go through, this is not real information. So don't worry. This is just made up right here. So basically you take that line item that's marked as CF and provide as much information as you can. So if you're doing OA, which basically a lot of what we do is it's considered online arbitrage in a sense. A lot of what we're doing is we're pulling from online markets, but it's going to an offline market. But it's very similar. So you provide all the information from the market that's there. And pretty much all this information is there. They're just wanting to know the date you purchased it, the order ID, which is your order ID from Amazon, the marketplace that it came from, the seller name. If you don't, you can actually dig into Amazon. There's some information here at the bottom to find the actual seller information. So, I think part of the Inform Act, which I'm sure a lot of you have got little notifications that's popped up on your Amazon account recently to say, this is who I am, this is my correct address. All that information shows up on your seller storefront. So you can dig down into that and actually pull the company name or the person's name, the supplier address, state, and city. So basically you have everything on there except I think the supplier phone number, which is fine. You just fill out to as complete as you can. And then you return it back to EPEG. You send it back to them. These are the EPEG contacts right here.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Okay. So this is everybody. And if you can actually, so anybody that wants to look back at this, you can see the slides at the end and you can actually go in. I've created a Google Doc here that's got all this information nice and neat for you. So if it's a Cengage title, this is where you send it. If this is an Elsevier title. So basically, 4 of the companies, Cengage, Elsevier, McGraw-Hill, and Pearson, you all ship to BC Guardian. BC Guardian is an arm of O&Z Law, right? But they work with the publishing companies. I don't know the internal workings of it, but I know that they'll reach out if they can't determine if a book is counterfeit sometimes. They don't have the knowledge on hand right there. Then they'll reach out to the publishing company and say, can you send us a print run that matches this print run so they can have an exemplar copy to look at it side by side.
Gotcha.
So they're working with the publishing companies directly, but publishing companies kind of took it off their plate and let this BC Guardian handle it, other than Macmillan. Macmillan still handles it on themselves. They still do it themselves. So all that information is inside of that Google Doc, so you can take a look at it and see. Basically, there's the email addresses. You carbon copy everybody that's in there. One of them's EPEG. The others are the actual publishing company. So there's a chain. They can see that surrender form and the response coming back, and then you are completely in the clear. You have done the process like you should. So that's it. That's how you do it. So the big thing is the unknown is scary as hell, and you don't know what's happening. Now, if you go through this process, now that you know, the monster's not as scary. It's kind of, they can take it out of the dark, and this is how you do it. It's really not a crazy process.
Right.
And EPEG, a lot of people are scared of them. They like, oh, I hate EPEG. Well, they're doing their due diligence. They're protecting the brands from counterfeits being distributed. We just get caught up in the mess of it. So we just want to make sure that we do what we need to do to stay out of that mess. That's my backwoods Kentucky jargon version of how this should be handled. All right. Here's quick. I'm going to throw in something here.
Please.
This is something that we released recently. So we do this with campuses, but we also have released this at Books and Beyond to the public. We have our own buyback platform that is connected into hundreds of universities. So if there's universities out there buying, or it's something that we know is going to be bought next term from another university, we're buying back. We've got hundreds of thousands of titles within this that you can sell back. So this is great for, I know a lot of you aren't looking to just send off books to buyback companies because they pay less, but this is great for anything you're gated on, right? So that's what a lot of buyback companies get, stuff that they're you're gated on. So a lot of these popular textbooks, you won't be able to sell. You're protected in the fact that you can't sell them. But we'll be buying them back. And, obviously if something comes in, this is the process that we do. So this is why I always say, don't just send something off to a buyback company because it's potentially counterfeit, because what's going on the back end is this whole process that I've just talked about. Right. Secondly, we've offered an affiliate piece to this thing. So no matter who you are, whether you're a student, whether you just live in a college town and you want to, push this out in flyers across the community, or you're a social media influencer, or you go to library sales all over the place, you can sign up to become an affiliate with us, push out a link through your socials or however you want to, and anything that is sold back through us, you get a 10% commission on without even having to touch the physical inventory.
That's awesome. That's awesome, dude.
Just short little plugs.
I appreciate it. So they always say, like, you give value, and then you do your ask. I would say the value that you gave today was way beyond anything close to your ask, because even your ask is value. If that makes sense. So,
I'm trying, like, listen, this is what I didn't get to get into in Books and Beyond.
Right.
So here are common warning signs of counterfeits. So I kind of broke it down into physical defects, printing and paper issues, and then content errors. So I won't kind of go through each one of these because I'm going to just jump in and just show direct examples now. But you can kind of see, like, if there's, substandard binding qualities, headbands, which are on a lot of the hardcovers, you'll see like a little band at the top that's like a silk cloth. They can have different colors or patterns. There's all kinds of different things out there that are warning signs, right? So this is a good thing to look at. If you don't know in the beginning, which everybody's there, when you first start, you're like, I don't know how to know if it's a warning or not. Well, if it comes across and you're like, I don't know, this is like fuzzy printing, it's
Right.
an image that's kind of grainy or it's like pixelated, my suggestion is send it off.
Yeah.
Send it
So
off.
if in doubt, send it out.
Yeah,
Send it off. Okay.
if in doubt, send it off. So
Right.
here you go. Counterfeit qualities. This particular item had a bad binding, low quality paper, and so missing ligature. Like, what the heck's a ligature, right? Okay, so a lot of times this counterfeiting software that's out there, it's just scanning images of books, right?
Okay.
And the way that some particular fonts work, like you can see this down here, this F and I, how the actual F connects over to the
Right.
I. It's called I had to throw in the word tittle because when else are you going to say tittle, right?
That's awesome.
like it overlaps the tittle of the I, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's connected. So this particular book, if you look at the author, Winfield Hill,
Right.
there was supposed to be a ligature there. The F
Right.
and the I was supposed to be connected. So these are common identifiers of a counterfeit anywhere where there's a
Interesting.
ligature. So a lot of them are, well, I think I've got some examples in there, but like where F and I, F and T, actually.
So to be clear, you're telling us that the bottom image there where the F and I are connected, that's what you should see.
That's what you should see. And
Okay.
the scanning software either will delete one of those letters
I
or
see.
it separates it. And so it doesn't
Separates
actually show the
it. Right.
ligature like it should. It separates the letters or deletes a letter altogether.
And
Those
that's
are-
common in all publishers or like specific publishers or
it's common in a lot of publishers. I mean, I'm sure they use different fonts across all kinds of titles, but yeah,
but that should
very,
happen like that. That's crazy. Okay.
yeah, that's a very common thing there.
That's interesting.
Here's a substandard binding with like in pages that are incorrectly cut. So you may come across a book that's got an in page that you'll notice is folded in. In pages are like the last page of the book, right?
Right. Mhm.
So when you open it up, and you may see that it's like, oh, I'm not going to do. So this is, I'll show you this. Like, this is a book that I'm about to send off as a potential counterfeit, and I'll show you why in a minute. But it's got maybe a page folded down like this. Why are they doing that? And you open it up, and then like the in page is like up here, and it's not cut right.
Gotcha.
That's a quality of a potential counterfeit. Doesn't mean it is, because we've sent stuff off before and it come back. It was just an incorrect cutting at the print run, you know. So there's things that happen where it might be a legitimate book. Poor binding, you see a book that's falling apart. It is a sign. Doesn't always mean it is one, you know, but these are just common warning signs. Virtually no margins. So if you see pages where the text runs all the way from margin to margin, there's no, you know, there's no, what the actual term is. I don't know if it's trim or what, but there's no kind of border around that's white space. Then that's another sign. Here you're seeing ghosting. It's kind of hard to see in this image, but what I call ghosting, where you'll see almost like a ghost image kind of to the lower left or lower right.
Okay.
Like a double printing.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
This one's also got heavy show through, what we call show through. So the actual text from the page behind it, the print from the behind it is showing through heavily to the other side. It's a thinner paper stock. So this is another warning sign that we're having, right? Here's one where the gutter of the book, actually the way it's bound, you can't see the text because it folds into the gutter of the book, right? So this is another common sign right here. These are actual counterfeit books you're seeing here on these particular images. Pixelated lettering is a huge thing. So it's highly likely to be a counterfeit with pixelated lettering. This is not a great image for it. This one's a little better, but we've seen a lot of pixelated lettering in like particularly like in this Pearson logo. You'll see, if you see pixelated lettering in the logo, it's highly likely it's a counterfeit. And you'll see zoomed in down on this one, the print that's supposed to wrap around the binding is not even. It doesn't line up. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Very cool.
So here's one from a few weeks ago. I believe this was might have been a couple months ago, that we got 4 different books in. They were all different sizes. They had different barcodes on the back. These are So these are called intercept tags that Pearson uses. There's some different barcoding that some of the other companies use, but they'll use these as another helpful identifier to help you determine if the book's legitimate or not. They have unique barcodes on the back.
Right.
These things can also be counterfeited that they found out. So like if somebody gets a book, they can counterfeit it, but it's just another identifier. And what we've seen is there's different varying versions of these. Some of them will have them, some of them will not.
Crazy.
And it's because there's different print runs. So these particular books there were 4 different print runs. And so this is the inside of those books. You can get some more information on print runs by this barcode here, that little QR code. That's going to take you to Stop Counterfeit Books website and show you about book run or
how to identify that
print runs. Yeah. So just some stuff there. This one's missing a headband where it should have had a headband. This is where this is a really good sign of a counterfeit here. If there's a joint in a book in the front of the actual cover of the book that's inset too far, so where that score is that creates the joint for the book to open and close, if it's far
if it's too far in, I see.
Yeah, that one's really far in. That is a really good likely indicator of it being a counterfeit.
Okay.
Right?
Sounds good, man.
Yeah, so all kinds of stuff. So here's some these are great to look at. You've got rigid squared off spines, so it's not very movable. Here's one where you'll see there's zipper like material instead of a headband.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So anything that's got a zipper like material, it's almost guaranteed to be counterfeit.
Okay.
Nope. Different versions of glue. So most books are going to have a thin layer of glue. You're not going to see a heavy line of glue like this. And then here's just kind of the very end. There's white glue in a book is a likely indicator, which is what I've got here. I'll try and show you. So what I indicated here in kind of this little run through of it is if you see bubbling inside of the glue on the binding, it's a potential indicator. So this is going to show up very well, but there is actual
it's kind of like a yellow whitish kind of
glue. And there's little bubbles in that glue. So this particular item is being sent off this week to EPEG.
Okay. Cool, man.
So that's a quick run through. There's the cave. This is where I'm at. Right.
Dude, that's awesome. That's crazy.
Right. This is where I'm at right now. If you guys want, anybody that's watching wants my contact info, here it is. Here's slides. You can pull these slides so you can go back and look at them later, and a link to our online buyback there.
Yeah, I'll make sure also to put the actual link as well in the description after this video is over, because people are definitely going to want to be interested in it. But dude, holy cow, I learned so much about.
Yeah, that's why, like when you contact me, like let's I'm going to give you 20 minutes to talk about this. Like, all right, we're gonna cram this thing in.
Yeah, I mean, this is by far the best video on counterfeits that I've been able to find on YouTube. And so thank you for that, because I've learned a lot about the process. My head is spinning about the potential of now buying these books that are likely or high likely to be counterfeit.
So my phone number's there, my email's there. So if there's any big sellers that are out there that want to become EPEG certified, reach out to me, and I can give you the appropriate contacts and get you connected with the people that you need to be connected with to have EPEG certification. So
that's crazy.
There's that process too.
That's awesome. Well, my wife and my kids are home right now. I mean, we crushed it. I mean, honestly, I have like 10 more questions that I do want to ask you. So we're actually gonna we'll definitely have a follow-up to this.
Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's do it.
Because this is only just giving me more questions. But I want to say, Chris, thank you so much for coming on, man.
For sure, brother. Anytime.
And for everyone that was here, I mean, I hope you guys got as much value as I did. Selfishly, I got a ton of value. So I think if I got value, that means everyone else must get a lot of value. So I just want to say thank you so much, Chris.
Yep. Hey, everybody that's watching, get your Books and Beyond tickets for 2026.
Yeah, right? Let's go. Yeah, it's happening October next year, and you'll be able to meet Chris in person. So, I mean, if it wasn't obvious, tons of value there. Tons of value. All right, Chris.
All right.
And everyone else, thank you guys so much.
Peace, brother. Thank you, man.